99% of new podcasters all make the same mistake when it comes to growing their podcast. Today I'm going to share what that mistake is, as well as what I believe the most effective way is to go about finding not only listeners, but the right audience for your show. Hey guys, my name is Marguerite Fora, and not only do I have a podcast, but I have also edited on podcasts, and I have spent hundreds of hours with people who want to start a podcast but unsure of how to get the right audience for their podcasts or how to grow their podcast. So in today's video, I'm going to share my 5-step process for how I film, cut, and title clips from my podcast, as well as how I use Fiverr, the sponsor of today's video, to level up my clips so that they stand out from the clutter and reach my desired audience. But first, let me walk you through where most new podcasters place their focus. Majority of new podcasters get caught up in the setup phase. If most of your time is obsessing about audio, lighting, your background, and different camera angles, let me be the first to say that of all of the things that should be taking up mental space, these are all valid. But the problem comes when you get caught up in the setup phase. You see, most people understand the fundamentals of what is required to set up a podcast, but growing an audience of qualified listeners is where most people go wrong. As with the basics of setting up a podcast, there is also a basic list of what to focus on for discovery. I'll run through this quickly before I get onto the biggest mistake that I see most people make when it comes to growing their show. So the beginner's guide to discovery is optimizing your podcast for the platforms you're sharing it to. Basically, if somebody is searching for your type of podcast, are they going to find it? For example, if someone is searching for a marketing podcast, will your podcast come up? Or if somebody is searching for a writing podcast, have you included search-specific terms in your titles or descriptions that would lead somebody searching for content about your niche straight to your content? This is the basics of discovery, and most people seem to get this right. But what happens next is where most people go wrong. In an attempt to get new viewers to come across your show, you may be tempted to use AI to cut clips of your show and share these clips to Instagram Reels, TikTok, or YouTube Shorts. In theory, you might have the right train of thought, but in practice, you could be making a huge mistake. Let me explain. So one of my clients asked me to use AI to cut clips of their podcast, and I was genuinely surprised at what AI thought were clips that were worthy of sharing. If you've played around with AI, I'm sure you would have had similar experiences where you've seen random clips that are cut, where it sort of starts in the middle of somebody's sentence, or where they try to get clever and put two people in a frame, but in this way of doing that, they almost cut one of the speakers off. I just found the experience to be a little bit brand damaging. I mean, AI is good, but it's definitely not where it should be yet, at least in my opinion, when it comes to cutting clips for a show. So what I'm getting at is that when it comes to cutting clips for social media, you just can't be lazy. So if it's your plan to go with a strategy of cutting a large amount of clips using AI and just spamming the internet with loads of content, I think this strategy maybe had some legs in 2018, but these days, I don't think that's going to get you anywhere. Put yourself in the position of someone scrolling. If you come across a piece of content that feels spammy or generic, I'm sure you're not going to give it the light of day. I think at this point, we all have a general feel of what a good TikTok or Instagram Reel or YouTube Short looks and feels like. So if you're unsure of this, don't worry, I'm going to speak to that now. But our goal is to create clips that work with algorithms as opposed to creating clutter that fill up the internet. So I'm going to show you how I create clips that are intentional and deliberate. And it starts with step 1. For me, this happens before you even cut the clips. This is just the basics of where are you and your guest in proximity to your camera. Nobody wants to scroll onto a clip where somebody is in their face. It is said that it really helps to be an arm's length away from your camera when it comes to recording. This obviously depends on the lens that you're using. But if you're feeling like you're at a conversational distance, this is the first step of creating a clip where somebody isn't immediately bouncing off of it. Step 2. When you're interviewing your guest, are you asking questions that could make for interesting video titles? So a mistake mistake that one of my clients made. They shared quotes from the person they were interviewing. So this shows the guest that you've done your research, but it makes it really difficult for the edit because you can't really start with a quote of what somebody else has said and use that for a title. Why would an audience member be interested? I have found that the clips that typically perform the best are clips that start with what, why, and how. So again, this is something to look at even before you cut your clips. It's important to consider what questions you're asking and how they could create compelling titles as early on in the process as when you are interviewing your guest. Step 3, edit your clip so that you start with your question that's also the same or at least similar to the title of your clip. This way you build trust with the audience that you plan to deliver on the promise of your title. Step 4, in the edit, cut out filler words so that the audio still sounds natural but more focused. Step 5. Now this is where I am hiring an editor to do the rest, because at this point I have already done the research to interview my guest. I've interviewed my guest. I've done a basic edit where I have cut out filler words, and I have also created short clips that are focused around a compelling title that a viewer would be interested in clicking on. Now, if you're wondering why I am not completing the entire process after having already done so much work, I'd like to remind you of how much work actually goes into creating a clip for social media. I've just done the basics. We still need to look at animations, transitions, sound effects. We need to look at color correcting. There is so much that goes into creating a compelling clip, and this is why I just want to hire somebody to do this final step, because quite frankly, I don't have the time. And also at this point, I have listened to this podcast so much that I really just want to hand it over to someone and get excited when I see a compelling short form piece of content that was created. You see, this is the big mistake most people make, because you cannot oversimplify creating short form pieces of content for social media. If you just spit random things out, it is likely to get swallowed up by the rest of the clutter that's out there. And that's why I use Fiverr to find an editor to do this. Now, I've used Fiverr for multiple projects, both personally and professionally over the years. And just in case you're curious as to who I've used, you're welcome to check out the link in my description in case you'd like to give them a try as well. Now, I'm going to show you how we worked together on 3 different podcast episodes and how we've created clips for each of these individual shows that are hopefully going to drive the right audience to watch the full show in its entirety. So this is where the clip started, and after the magical touch of an editor, this is what the clip now looks like. Now, when I upload this clip to YouTube, I can add it to the full podcast episode, and this then gives a viewer the chance to click onto my full show once they've come across the short form clip. Like I said, there is just so much that goes into creating a short form piece of content that is going to pop out from the clutter that is already out there. So I'm really happy with what my editor and I were able to achieve together. And if you're in the space where you'd like to try working with an editor as well, Fiverr have kindly offered my audience a 10% discount on their first purchase. So all you have to do is use the code DREAMITDOIT at the checkout, and this will enable you to access your 10% discount. I hope it helps. But as you can see, if you're going to cut clips for social media to draw attention to your show, putting in that extra bit of effort goes a long way in helping your show stand out in the large sea of content that is already out there.